Hello YouTubers. Now as you can possibly hear, I'm still dying. I've had this man flu now for at least, I don't know, an hour, and I know there's not much time left, so we'll do one more video. I have a Rover behind me, a 00 Rover, and the start motor's gone. You gotta love Rovers, haven't you? Brilliant. Anyway, so this kind of goes with most cars. Some cars are easier to get to, some cars aren't. And obviously first disconnect the battery. Now the problem is disconnecting the battery, depending on what car you've got, you can lose radio codes, you can lose a lot. So you need to make sure you kind of got all that and you're okay. If you don't disconnect the battery, one of the leads sparks across, you could do serious damage. So I would advise you to disconnect the battery. So we're going to crack on with it. Oh yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, it's so cold. So what I'd advise you to do is when you're disconnecting the battery, I don't disconnect the earth. And the reason is because if the earth touches off the body, you basically can still have power going to something. So I disconnect the power. It's up to yourself, but personally, that's what I kind of like to do. It's a 10mm. Looks quite rusty, so best be careful. Move that up so you can see. So just basically make sure it can't, you know, hit back. So make sure it's well down and out of the way, wedged in behind somewhere so you can't see. Now we'll get underneath it and do the rest from there. Now as you can see, we're underneath the car. We have a starter motor here. Now, like most starter motors, we have 3 bolts. 2 are easy to get to, the third one's kind of hidden, and then we have a couple of wires on the solenoid and the power wire and stuff. So what I'm going to do first is just take off the 2 easier bolts, the 13s. So we'll whip off them first. Hopefully we can get the other one from the bottom here. We might have to go from the top, but hopefully not. This, to be fair, is quite an easy one. Sometimes if it's at the back of the engine, they're a lot worse. But this one doesn't seem to be too bad, which is good. Now, because obviously we've disconnected the wires, we don't have to worry. I'm going to leave the wire, disconnected the battery. So I'm going to leave the wires till last to actually disconnect. I'm just going to try and feel, now I can feel it, so I'm going to need to get a ratchet, an extension, a 13mm socket. We'll whip it off. You're not going to really be able to see, but you get the idea. Yeah. It's loosened. Enough. That's well wedged in. It's very tight for some reason. Off completely. So it's just 3 of them, 3 bolts, 13mm. But this is very tight. So have to be careful with this one and lever it out I'll try and leave it out without breaking anything. So I'm just going to get a little lever bar in, take my time, and just very gently, there we go, it's coming, there we go. Now the problem with this starter motor was, it was starting, but the odd time it might stick. So they just had to hit it and then it started again. So there's obviously a problem with the solenoid. So we're just going to take it off and get it looked at. And basically, as you can see, we have the main power wire and the actual starter wire. So that just clips off. I say that. It's not moving. Right, we'll take this one off first. 13mm power wire. And if you don't disconnect the battery, when you put spanners and stuff on, you can very easily cross things and it sparks and does all sorts. So, and it can, like I said, do serious damage if you do that. So always take the battery connection off. Your gloves are great, but they get in the way. You can't undo anything with them. I think beating your fingers. It wants to come off. That's tight. That should be. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So basically, that wire should just come off, and that's another thing, you know, that wire can always hit stuff as well. And as you can see, just one more wire on. It happens to be clipped on, just a push connection. Sometimes they're bolted on as well, as you can see. Here we go, the push connection. Now, sometimes if you've got a problem with your starter motor, it could be that this little wire here is loose. So that's another thing to be aware of. But basically, here you go. I have a starter motor out, and as you can see on this one, fairly simple. So I can get this sent away, hopefully get it back today, put it in, make sure it starts all the time, and yeah, get the rest of the vid done. Alright? Right, so this is now the next day for me, but obviously only a few seconds for you. So we've got the starter motor back, and just as I expected, it was the solenoids. We've got a new solenoid there, as you can see. The old one just a bit sticking. Now sometimes when you get these new solenoids, the connections are slightly different. This one happens to be the same, but sometimes they are slightly different. So if they are, don't particularly worry about it. You can cut the connections off and put slightly different connections on. So now as you can see, 1, 2, 3, we're gonna bang them bolts back in and it should fire up, hopefully. Oh yes, YouTubers, I'm still alive, still surviving this man flu. Only just though, but because I'm a man, I can hack it and just struggle on without moaning. That's all. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is put the power wire back on. What I've also noticed here is, you might hope, yeah, be able to see it, that's an earth strap that actually the bolt goes through on the top of the bolt on the alternator. So again, you have to remember to do that. So just put that over. Put the new spring washer on, new nut, still 13, so you can tighten it 13mm, and obviously push this connection in and on, make sure it's on good. It's not going on very well. Now, Getting there? Now YouTubers, I'm not happy with the connection that's on it. So basically I've got a new spade connection here. It's the yellow one, and basically the colours, you can camera zoom in, the colours just mean how thick the end is. There's blue and there's red. Red's the smallest one, blue's in the middle, and yellow is the biggest hole. Same end here, just a bigger hole here. So I'm going to cut this wire off, cut this connection off, and put a new connection on this fella here. I just feel a little bit better doing that. It doesn't look great, it doesn't feel great. So what I'm going to literally do is cut it, throw that connection away, don't need it, strip the wire back. As you can see, the wire, or the casing off the wire is off. Twist the wire together. A new connection, put it on, crimp it. Now I've put it in my crimps. As you can see, there's loads of different types of these, and literally put it in the middle and just squeeze. As simple as that, really. Now, you can put tape around this, but the problem is, maybe get a few comments here now, but if you put tape around that, water will get in the tape and it can't escape. So you can actually cause more problems. Not all the times, but in certain things, taping the connection up. So I'm not going to bother, because I know I don't need to. Now, as we can see, that is so much better connection. Sorted. Now, like I said, we just basically need to put this on. The top bolt here, right at the top, has an ear strap. So we need to put the ear strap between the bolt and the starter mode. Not here, between this part here. I'm not going to be able to see this on camera, but sorry, it's this bolt here. This is the bolt here, hole here. I'm not going to be able to get to it on camera, but once you're doing it yourself, you'll know. You'll be able to see. It's obvious once you're doing it yourself. But first off, I'm just going to line this up, make sure it's in. Now, I'm going to lightly put all the bolts in first before I tighten anything up. That one in. That one in. Now let's do the top one. Make sure I get the air strap on. There, so that goes through. And now through the hole. Now, I hope I'm not getting in the way of that. Obviously not going to be able to see that, but you saw it when I took it off, so you know it's there. Now, 13mm, tighten all them up. Now, none of these are actually tight at the minute. I'm just getting them close by hand first, and then I'm going to give them all a squeeze when they're all together. This is the hardest one, just trying to see blind. See blind, eh? It's a great expression. Now, I can actually screw this one tight because obviously the others are close. Now that one's tight. That one's tight. And that one's tight. Now, the back end is always just double check, make sure everything is in place where it should be. So we put this little cap down from the power, just to protect that. And that's down. Nice and tight, everything's in, clips are on, pipes are on. Nothing's loose, everything feels good. Now, we can bring it down, put the battery on. Now we just put the power on, see if it starts. But obviously, when you're putting the power wire back on, you have to make sure, if you're using a spanner, that you don't put it on the power and also earth it out on the body, because you'll get a big spark. And if your battery's not particularly great, it can actually blow up, so you really don't want to do it. So, it's on. We need to now see if it starts. And this is a Rover 45. And as typical Rovers, yes, the head gasket is gone. Because it's not a Rover without the head gasket being gone. It's just one of them things. Oh yeah! Sorted. Now, obviously that's the start mode of Rover 45 001. Straightforward, simple enough, nothing really to watch out for, nothing really like special with them. Simple tools, simple job, sorted. Hope this helps. Thumbs up the video and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty, see you for the next one.